I think business owners focus so heavily, I know they do, they focus so heavily on their craft and so heavily on the thing that they made, and they know it's amazing. And then they get ready to take it to market. They have absolutely no idea how to tell people how amazing it is, and they don't know how to get people's attention. I believe, and I propose to you, that any business can work as long as today we're talking about how to pick the right business for you. And right before the show, our guy Peyton, who's running audio, asked a question. He's like, can any business work?
Hmm.
And I'm like, man, that's a really good question. He's like honestly, can any business work? We're going to dive into first how to pick the right business for you. And we're also going to talk about, can any business work?
Yeah. And interestingly enough, probably any business can work because that's been proven, right?
Yeah.
But probably not every business is right for you.
Let's flip it. So let's
Okay.
answer the question, can any business work?
Okay.
Because that's a really good question. I was like,
Hmm.
man, I've never actually thought of that. I believe and I propose to you that any business can work as long as there is a market for
Yeah,
what it is that business is
absolutely.
solving for. But generally speaking, a human being is not going to create something
Hmm.
that doesn't solve a problem, at least for themselves.
Hmm.
And generally, if they have a problem, someone else also, or a group of someone else's, also has that same problem. Now, are there markets with larger amounts of people in them? Then, and there are some markets with smaller amounts of people. Yes, but in all reality, I cannot think of a business that would not work unless the business was started for the purpose of failing just to prove this statement wrong. And then in that case, it's technically working and doing its job and
Yeah.
proving the point. So I believe, and I'm happy to see some comments down below if you guys have ideas of businesses that can't work, and I'll actually go back and forth with you and try to answer the question and say, here's how this business could work. That could be pretty fun.
Well, you bulletproofed it too, and you
Yeah.
said, is there a need?
Yeah,
So, whenever there's a need, there's going to be a business.
that's true.
Businesses were started because there was a need for something. And the other thing, too, is though, the brilliant people, all right, even if there's not a need, they create the need. And that gets into a little bit of your
That's good.
department,
No,
doesn't it?
that's
'Cause that
really
gets a little
good.
bit into marketing to
Yeah,
create a
create a
urgency,
demand.
create a hunger, create a desire. And
Yep.
so either there is an obvious present need or you are creating that need.
Let's draw this out.
Okay.
So, Peyton, your question's phenomenal. Can any business work? The answer, I believe, is yes. Now, unfortunately, there are some external factors that could cause a business that normally would work in a healthy market to not work in an unhealthy market. And I wish that wasn't the case, but there are some countries where laws are very restrictive on what you can and can't do. There are a lot of cases where certain regulations, taxes, etc., make it very difficult to trade and do business in an actual economical profitable way. So with all of that said, if we look at an arena and just pretend, and America's a really good example of this, and there are a lot of countries that also have essentially free trade and even free trade between themselves. So if you look at America, and in this circle that I just drew, if we look at, I'm going to put some points here. Let's just say this is your market, right? Now, there can be circles of similar sizes that have a lot less people in them, even smaller. There can be markets of different sizes. However, as long as there's a demand and as long as you have a solution to these people's problems, no matter how dense the population is, you're going to be able to have a sustainable business as long as what the solution you have is priced appropriately for the people in that market to be able to afford. Because that's another factor. That's a whole nother factor. You can't just sell something for whatever you want it to be. Price is actually set by, it's one thing. This will actually unlock a lot of things for you. A lot of people have a hard time figuring out what should I set my price at? Price isn't actually determined by you.
Mhm.
It's determined by whatever somebody is willing to pay. Now, can you increase your price? Absolutely. If you can increase the value or the perceived value of your solution, people will pay you more money. As long as there's a exchange happening in which they feel like if they give you some money, they're going to get greater value back in return. So a lot of times you can't know what your price should be until you test it. And one way to do it is essentially set your price at a price and say, okay, my product is $100 and see if it sells. And if it sells for $100 and it's selling really well and it's profitable, you should test the next threshold because you might be priced too low. Okay, let's try 110. Okay, it's staying the same. Okay, let's try 120. Okay, I'm still profitable, still making more money. All the way up until you hit this threshold of maybe now you priced it at 200 and you're starting to lose sales, you're starting to get diminishing returns, you're starting to make less profit. Now you know, okay, my optimal price is somewhere between 100 and 200. And if I go past 200, I'm too expensive and no one will buy, my business failed. If I go lower than 100, I'm too cheap and everyone will buy, but I'm not profitable. And so my business will fail. And a lot of people fall into one of these two categories. They price stuff way too high and they think that nobody wants their product, which is actually crazy. They're just priced too high. Or they price too low and they see that everybody loves their product, but they're like, I just can't make ends meet.
Okay, so let me play coach here for a minute.
Let's do it.
So, can any business succeed? Right? So what I heard you say is, what is the market?
Right.
And then the second thing I heard you say is, what is the value that is being placed upon your
Solution.
product or
Yep.
whatever you're selling,
Yep.
right? So are you saying, okay, that for any business to succeed, first of all, you have to know your market, and secondly, you have to know the value of what you're offering?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
I'll actually write that down. Market. So number
Because
one,
you've got a lot of good information flowing right now, and I'm very linear, so I'm like
I
going,
love
okay,
it. Yeah. You're so good at that. You're so good at lining it up. Yeah.
if any business can succeed, it feels like what you're sharing with us as basic principles that are going to work across the board, and I agree with that.
Yeah. And that's what's really cool about this. What we're teaching you is principles, and principles can be applied. And when they're applied, they actually work no matter the arena. So you do have to have a market, but the size really doesn't matter.
Okay.
A lot of people think that their product won't work if the market isn't big enough. That's not true. The market can be one person, and you could have a lifelong coaching relationship with Michael Jordan, or a lifelong coaching like a life coaching relationship with one person who pays you $1 million a year. And that market is one person, right? So the market doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be willing and able. So willing to buy your product is a lot of people. Able is going to be determined by price.
Good.
So willing is if you did a good job disseminating, explaining, presenting the value to the person. A lot of people are willing to go on a cruise, but they're not able. So the able part comes in with the price. But cruise lines don't just say, well, not everyone can afford to go on a cruise, so we just shouldn't exist. No, they know that there's a market, a certain market that can afford it. And so they've found their, what a lot of people call a niche. So you do have to know what your market is, who your market is. You do have to know the size
Ooh, that's interesting.
of that market. You should do that research, but it shouldn't determine whether or not you actually do the business or not. Because you might say, oh man, there's 200 million people in the country, but only 1,000 people are in my market, which is would be pretty rare. But if you did that comparison and said, wow, the overall population is huge, but my market is tiny, so this wouldn't be a good business. If you're Walmart, maybe.
Okay, so what you're saying then in that first marketing, knowing is you need to know your niche.
Yeah, you do need to know your niche, and you also need to know what's a win and what's you have to know what a real win is and a real loss is.
Because it doesn't have to be expansive, but if there's enough people that are interested in that product, like you use the comparison, and I think his name is Tim Grover, who actually coached Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And after that, it was lights out, right?
Yep.
So who's going to buy what we have?
Exactly. So determining your market, it's not that difficult. You really just have to do a little bit of research, and you'll learn more of the details of your market and your individual target audience over time. But really, if you sell, like we do, marketing services, you know that your audience is businesses who market products. You can keep segmenting that down and say, you know, what type of business do you prefer to work with? What type of problems can you solve? And the bigger problems you solve and the bigger companies you solve them for, the more money you'll make. That's really if you're solving small problems, you'll get small paychecks. And if you're solving big problems, you'll get big paychecks.
Ooh,
and here's
I
another
like that.
thing.
Say that again.
If you solve small problems, you'll get small paychecks. And if you solve big problems, you'll get big paychecks. And
higher risk, higher return.
True, exactly. That is definitely part of the principle there. And also, if you're wondering, and here's the other thing, small businesses cannot have big problems. That's an actual fact. That's a principle.
Have small problems or solve.
Small businesses cannot have big problems. They can only have small problems because they're small businesses. Big businesses can have both small and big problems because they're large, they're expansive, they have small segments in their department. But if you're trying to charge a certain dollar amount and all you're doing is targeting small businesses, you'll never be able to build your company the way you want to, because they'll never be able to afford to pay you because they never have a problem big enough for you to solve that will provide you a paycheck big enough that you're desiring. So oftentimes you have to level up in your problem solving. That's why we have to keep getting better and better and better at what we do, so that we're on the forefront of like, what is a big problem that a big business has? And then we go solve it on our own before we reach out to them. And then we come to them and say, hey, we solved this problem for so-and-so's business. We think we can solve it for you by doing the same thing. Here's the evidence. And that's actually how you can get new clients very easily without having to work. You go you figure out what their problem is. You're willing to solve it without them paying you. Then you come to them and say, if you do pay us, we'll solve this for you specifically, and then they'll pay you.
So my mind just jumped. I don't want to throw us off. So if I do, bring me back. But I had this thought. Then in the context of marketing, how can marketing help you present yourself as a big problem solver?
Right.
Right? Because if it's just like, let's just say if it's in the diet industry and it's just like, hey, take our products, you could lose 2 or 3 pounds, versus, hey, take our products and lose 20 pounds in 20 days.
Which one would you pay more for?
Exactly. I want to lose the weight quickly.
That's a phenomenal example. The bigger the problem you solve, the higher the amount of the ticket. Because price is only determined by what the person values, and that's only determined by what you communicate. So as David asked, he said, well, how do you, great, you've got your solutions, you know your market, how do you get their attention? That is really powerful. I heard an explanation, and I can't remember because I'm not huge into sports, but you may know this. There are 2 really, really great swimmers in the Olympics. Well, I think one was a female swimmer and one was a male, Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps.
Who was the other one this year?
Starts with an L. Little company, Ledecky.
So here's what just occurred. Both of them are excellent. They are both incredible top athletes. But even right now, we were trying to remember the name of one of them and we couldn't. But we know Michael Phelps. And that's because Michael Phelps has attention. he has more attention. And attention is also incredibly valuable, because if you can get somebody's attention.
Yeah, and he's been marketed. That's why we know. Was
Exactly.
Wheaties, and she probably was on Wheaties too, but he's been
more reach.
He's been marketed.
And reach and attention is very important, because you can have an incredible skill. You can be just as good as Michael Phelps, but if no one knows your name, you're not going to be able to sell products at his level, right? It's like you could have a candy bar that's better than Snickers, but if nobody knows about it, it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times I think business owners focus so heavily, I know they do, they focus so heavily on their craft and so heavily on the thing that they made, and then they get to this point and they know it's amazing. They know it's amazing. Their mom knows it's amazing. Their grandma knows it's amazing. Their brother knows it's amazing. Friends know it's amazing. And then they get ready to take it to market. They have absolutely no idea how to tell people how amazing it is. And they don't know how to get people's attention. And that's super important. So that's another thing, another item that may cause you to feel like your business can't work. So we're basically addressing things here still along the question of, can any business work? We're still attacking the fact that these things may make you feel like the business can't work, but they're really just things you have to solve in order to make it work. Because really, any business can work. But if you don't know your market and you don't know what they're willing to pay for your product, you may think your business failed for the reason we said earlier. You're priced too low or too high. And then you may also feel like your business can't work because no one cares about it. And that's true. No one does care about it until you get them to care about it by getting their attention through marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is really interesting, because, marketing in a way that is honest.
Yes.
But is not, I think a lot of times people try not to oversell themselves in a way. And so they don't really put it out there. I know in many of my coaching consultations, I'll just come out and say, you coach with me and your life will never be the same. Every one of my clients succeeds.
Yep.
None of my clients have ever gone backwards.
That's true.
And they've all at least come close to doubling their income within a year.
Yeah.
And it almost sounds, when you say it, almost sounds braggadocious, but it is a fact.
Systems work. Yeah.
And it's, the confidence that you have to sell. And I'm sure there's false marketing and other things that
there
are
are.
out there.
Yeah. Yeah, there definitely
but by and large, if you don't believe in you, and if you're starting a business, it is you.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't believe in you, who's going to believe in you?
Nobody. Yeah, you can only get somebody to believe to the level that you believe, and they're always going to believe lower than you. So you got to be way up here if you want somebody to even be here. So getting people's attention, and if you want to learn how to get people's attention, we shot an episode that came out a couple weeks before this one, and it's called How to Fix a Failing Business. Mm-hmm. Inside that episode talks about exactly how to determine your marketing budgets, like the actual numbers, which is pretty wild. I've never shared those before publicly. And we broke those down, us being a marketing agency and me owning companies that generate multiple 7 figures a year and employ about 27 people. We've done this and we're giving it all to you. And then we have another episode that was a couple weeks or a week before that episode when it came out. And it's called You're Only 7 Steps from 7 Figures.
I love that.
And that's going to show, you're only 4 steps from 7 figures. It's actually less than 7 steps. 4 steps from 7 figures.
It's the second 7 figures I love.
And it basically breaks down that there's only 4 things that you need to know to sell anything, to sell any product. So we have a couple episodes that actually go into the actual strategy on how to do that. So I'm going to assume you watched those. And now we're talking about attention. So if you've watched those, you actually do know how to get people's attention. And that is something that you need. And I'll just sum it up real quick. You have to speak to what they want, not what you care about, because they don't care about you. No one cares about you. They only care about them. And if you care about them more than they care about them, or if you can
Hmm.
communicate their problem to them better than they can communicate their problem to themselves, and you can come in with a solution, they will buy from you. And the exact strategies are in those previous 2 episodes that we just talked about. But you have to know your market, and you have to know how to grab their attention. And by knowing your market, again, that's really the price. You have to know how many people are there in your market and at what price are they willing to pay for your service or product. And then you basically just have to determine, is it profitable? And yes, it will be profitable. You just have to figure those numbers out and make those calculations.
So let me ask you a question, Joey, because I get a lot of this from my clients
Yeah.
who would like to have a second business, but they say, I'm not I don't have the business mindset, yet they have an incredible product. Like they've got the best chocolate chip cookie ever.
Right.
And this thing could go crazy, but they don't feel like they're a business person.
Yeah. Phenomenal question. I've heard it a lot myself. Some people may think that, and I know people think that it's a mindset of like, some people are born business people and some people are born to work as employees for business people. And really that's not true at all. Like, it's a skill. Business is a skill. It's not something you inherently have when you're born. It's something that you build upon. And everyone generally starts out as an employee, and you can learn a lot there. Some people want to remain an employee and work for a business and be in that seat, and that's great if that's what they desire. But some people want to have their own financial freedom, control their schedule, things like that. And that's when they start their own business. There's obviously a lot more things involved with that, but it's skills. Like you're not born like, oh, that person can start a business and that person can't, based on how they're born. It's not how it works.
And I think another misconception is, especially in a young new business, that the business person has to do or be everything. And that's not true.
No.
All leaders, no matter what realm you're from, you have to get the right people around you.
Yep. Some people are good at finance. Some people are good at marketing. Some people are good, or skilled in, I should say, or like.
Yeah.
Some people like finance a lot. I'm not one of those people. Some people like sales a lot. I am one of those people. Some people like operations a lot. I'm not one of those people. But I have people around me, and those people generally don't like what I like. And that's why we're a good team, because we each do the thing that we like to do. And that's really powerful when that's another thing that's really, really, really powerful to determine is, what do you like to do? And that's actually what we're going to get into next.
Yeah. What do you like to do? And there's almost 2 realms to that. Like, what do you like to do, period? And then what do you like to do within the context of your business, right? And you made a comment. Let me just jump on that, because that was so good. Is that there are several things you mentioned that you don't really care about doing, but they have to be done in your businesses, and they are getting done because of I'm going to use the word partnership.
Yeah, exactly.
And at some point, maybe not next, but at some point, let's talk about how a business person can use partnership to get to where they want to be. Because when you started out, you didn't have all of these partners.
That's an episode right there.
Yeah. You didn't have them all.
When you start out, you are them all.
Exactly.
And then you're frustrated on the things you don't like to do, which takes time away from you doing the thing you are good at doing and like to do. And a lot of people aren't willing to part way with owning the whole company, realizing that if they do and they find the right partners, they're actually going to grow, which is pretty wild to think about. But no, so that really leads us to the episode right here. That was a long segue to get here, but it was very important to set that up. What business should I choose? Like, what is the right business for me? And really, what is the right business for you? That's what we're trying to determine right here. So this is how you do it. Exactly. And I'm really good at drawing straight lines. Just kidding. The iPad is good at doing that. So you have 2 columns. You have love and you have like.
You don't have don't like, hate, can't stand, don't ever want to think about it.
That list is probably way too extensive. You have
And the reason I say that,
Yeah.
I know the reason I say that is that people are making a lot of money in professions they want out of.
yeah, exactly. Yep.
But
Exact. No, that's very true. But
let's go to love and like.
love and like, love and like. Really, it's make a list of things you love to do,
Okay.
and then make a list of things you like to do. That's it. So, what do you love to do? Okay. For some people, it's golfing.
Oh wait, you're talking about just anything,
Uh-huh.
not things that generate income.
I'm talking about an activity that you love or you like.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I love to do triathlons.
Sweet. What do you love to do, Peyton? Skate. Yep. Skateboarder.
What do you love?
Pretty
to do?
skilled. Play music.
Mm-hmm.
Skate.
I love to do motivational speaking. I love outdoor sports. I love CrossFit.
CrossFit. Let's think about some for the audience. Some other
Okay.
things people like to do.
Okay.
Eat. Like enjoy a good meal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go to
like-
the movies. I don't know.
Yeah. Socialize. Go to the movies. Shop. Some people
Fishing.
like to shop.
Peyton's motioning for fishing, which yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Fishing, hunting,
Shop.
those types of things.
Shopping. Cool.
Wow.
Now, what are some things that you like that you don't love, but you like them enough? It might be harder to think about because loving, you're like, oh yeah, I know, I love that, I love that, I love that, I love that. But what are some things that you like? And we're thinking in context of business. So some things that you like to do that would potentially solve a problem.
Yeah.
Do you like mowing your lawn? Some people do. Kayla does.
No, I don't.
But I'll put it down because I know Nick does. My business partner Nick and my wife like mowing the lawn. But they don't love it.
Right.
It's something they have to do. That's really the difference. Love is something you don't have to do that you choose to do. And like is something that you kind of do have to do, but you don't mind doing it. Like I actually like cooking and I have to do it.
I like organizing, and I think that's why I'm a good at coaching.
Yep.
Because I help people organize. But
some people like building things.
though, yeah,
Like
for sure.
Matt Cruzy out there building a shed on his
Mhm.
weekend, you know.
Mhm.
Would he do it just because? I don't know if he'd build a shed just because, but he needed a shed and he likes building.
Mhm.
So that's one of my buddies. You guys are like, who's Matt Cruzy? Who are you even? That's the first time I've ever meeting you. But yeah, no. So, that list might not be as long, and it doesn't have to be as long. But let's think of three more things that people might like doing. And again, the definition of love is something that you don't have to do, but you choose to do. The definition of like is really something that you kind of do have to do, but you also don't mind doing it. You have to cut your grass or you're going to get a fine. You have to, you have to build a shed if you have a riding lawnmower that needs to get stored in the shed and you don't have room in your garage because you have kids that have cars and like they're, you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Am I communicating that all right? Okay.
Yeah.
So some other things that people like.
Some people like thinking around this area. People like to can
Yeah. Oh
Canned
yeah.
food.
Canned food.
or
I
garden.
know people that
take
do.
it to another level.
Oh,
gardening.
gardening. That's really good.
Keeping their flowers up, things of that nature.
Yep.
Some people like to paint.
They do.
The creative expressions.
Yep.
Right.
Painting, like actual paintings.
I guess that's not something you have to do. That might be more of a love.
true. Well, but
Painting the house.
Some people, my wife
Yeah.
likes painting the house.
Okay.
I liked laying the floor in my parents' house, and we now have a multi-7-figure flooring company.
Whoa.
So,
Okay. That's a segue.
and that's what happened.
Right.
Flooring. I actually, when I was a teenager,
Enjoyed
I
it.
wanted to learn how to do it. And I enjoyed it. I was like, that'd be a fun business. So you might see where
Yeah.
I'm going with this.
Right.
Let's go through the love column really fast. Can you make money golfing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
How easy is it to make money golfing?
I would say not easy.
Right.
I'd say it was
Tiger
somewhat
Woods makes a
difficult.
lot of money golfing.
He
There are
does.
pros.
And there are pros that are not at that level.
Right.
And there are people that have bought golf courses
Yep.
because they loved golfing.
Exactly. So
But
can you make money golfing?
You can.
Yes. Is it
I
something
would
you should
say
do
it's
first?
Not easy.
Okay. So I don't want to cross it off.
Okay.
But I'm going to cross it off because it's not what we're going to choose today.
Okay.
Can you make money doing triathlons?
Not a lot. You can. It's possible. There's a pro circuit out there. It's very young. It's very different.
Okay.
But it would be difficult.
Can you make money skateboarding?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
But Peyton's
But
over here
Peyton's
like
saying very little.
there's
He's not ready.
people out
He's
there.
not ready to give up his day job.
Yeah. But there are people out there like Paul Rodriguez who has deals with Nike and
Yeah.
and you know, you can make it.
You can. It's possible.
But is it the business we should choose today based on the delta of how difficult it would be to get there?
Oh, let's ask Peyton.
Would
Does
you
that sound
choose-
like
no.
a good business?
Okay. So music.
Okay.
I love music. Can I make money with music? Yeah.
Yeah.
Will I? I believe that I will. And
Mhm.
that's actually the reason I started the flooring company. Because I knew how much money it takes to be able to take my time and put it into music. And that was my original purpose for starting the flooring company. I have other purposes as well, but that was
Mhm.
kind of the main objective of
Yep.
like, let's start the flooring company so it can pay me enough money so that I can spend time
Mm.
without needing to work on music, market it, et cetera, and have the money to get it out there so it can start paying me money. So it's hard to do, but it's possible, but it's not what we're going to choose first. Speaking, can you make money? Definitely. That's
Yes.
actually not that far away. And you have, and yeah. So, but the delta again is challenging.
Sure.
CrossFit. Can you make money? Yes. Starting a gym, the investment, the delta to get there is probably a little bit high,
Yeah.
but I don't mind that one because of starting a gym. Eating. Can you make money eating? Competitive eating. Yeah. Can you make money feeding people? Definitely.
Definitely.
So I don't know. I'm not going to cross those out.
Okay.
Can you make money making movies? Yes.
Yes.
Hard. Can you make money watching movies? Yeah, as a critic, but again,
Right.
challenging. So you guys get where I'm going. I don't think I have
But
to.
you could buy a theater.
We'll just cross those out. Can you make money fishing? Yeah.
Right.
But can you make money selling fishing gear? Yes.
If in your market area there's a need for,
Yeah.
right? You live by a lake.
So yeah, exactly. So we crossed out a lot of the loves.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean you can't make money doing those. We actually said yes, you can make money doing all of them, which answers the question: can any business work? And that is yes, any business can work. Now, what's the right business to choose? And I really think the question should be: what business should I choose first? Because you can do more than one business.
Well, yeah, I like that. We'll probably do a podcast on this: is how one business can actually support,
And
how a like can support a love.
woo! How your likes can support your loves. Yes.
Yes.
So now let's go to the like column.
Okay.
Again, love is things that you would do anyway. Things that you
Mhm.
don't have to do but want to do. You're
Mhm.
going to do them. No one has to tell you. They're not
Mhm.
even required.
Mm-hmm.
No maintenance, nothing. You're just doing them because you want to do them. Likes are things that are somewhat required, like mowing the lawn, cooking, organizing, building, canning, gardening, painting, flooring, stuff like that. And that love list it could go on forever. We don't have enough time in the podcast, but it could go on forever. And I'm sure you guys are thinking, and you guys should be writing your own list as well. And this is how you're going to determine your business. So you go to the like column, right? And you kind of can start cross-referencing some things. So it's like, oh, wow, I see cooking in here on my like, and I see eating in here on my love. That might be something.
Mm-hmm.
I see also gardening. That has to do with food. I also see canning. That has to do with food.
Mm.
Something's happening here.
Mm.
I don't know what it is, but something's happening here. And your list
Yeah.
will be different, obviously, than this list. But I'm actually like, man, I do like all those things.
I see
Um,
a market.
Yep.
general market store there.
You see some stuff. Yeah, true. Yeah. So like we've got mowing the lawn. I don't necessarily see a cross reference here, but that's definitely a business people
Right.
will pay money for, right?
Absolutely.
Organizing is definitely something people will pay money for. Building is definitely something people will pay money for. And I on here I do see two things as well. I see building and flooring and painting.
Mm-hmm.
So I see another common thread, and your list might not have the same common thread as mine, but I see construction and I see food. Those are both major industries, and they solve major problems at different levels. And so when you make a list like this, you're going to find what business you might think you should start based on how many did you write down in the love, how many did you write down in the like. Technically, it looks like I should start a construction business, and I did do that. And it looks like I should start a food business, and I've been brainstorming of a coffee shop for years with my wife.
Interesting.
Which is funny. I actually didn't mean to do this the way it worked out, but we put all these things on the list. And obviously some of these things are your ideas. Some of these things are Peyton's ideas. So when you put these down on your list, it'll be only your ideas. But this is how this works. And then you say, okay, that's how to pick my industry. And then you go to work on researching your market. How do I get their attention? Which we have 2 episodes dedicated to teach you how to do that and how much money to spend on that to be profitable. And now you know what business to choose. You know what business to choose first.
Yeah, and that's really how I decided on my business. Is I always loved sports. I love sports.
Yep.
And I liked coaching.
Yeah. Yes, that is true. That's true.
And I realized that I really had a gift in personal one-on-one coaching, even a greater gift than the athletic coaching.
Yep.
And that's how I decided it can become a business.
Yep. That's how we started Collab Studios. I love art and being creative and music. I love music. I loved making videos. I liked photography and things like that. And notice how I said liked, I transitioned down. I love music. I like video and photo. And people were willing to pay for video and photo, and we created a media company out of that. And so now we're starting to grow to the point where I'm actually going to start having more freedom to spend my time on what I love, which is music, which I believe will then and follow the journey. I'm excited. Like, I'm excited to follow your journey as well. And like, we're going to move on. We're going to continue this podcast and continue following the story of how these things grow with you and with us. Yeah. And I believe music will pay me a very substantial amount of money, but I couldn't have started out with it.
Yeah. Another one of my loves, this is so cool because this gets into purpose, is one of the things that we talk about with our 5 ideas method of coaching, which is just incredibly good for anybody who wants to launch a business. But, you know, one of my true loves is helping young entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yep.
And you were a young entrepreneur, and we have collaborated.
Yep.
And now you are having that same love to see young entrepreneurs reach their goals and make a difference in life. And that was a love of mine.
That's basically what this show became.
Yeah.
This show became working with young entrepreneurs or people who are young in entrepreneurial, like being entrepreneurs, not being like a 20-year-old entrepreneur, but somebody who's young, just starting out being an entrepreneur. You can be 50, 60, 70. You're a young entrepreneur because you're just starting out to be an entrepreneur.
Helping people identify what they can do with their lives and never ending that, whether you're young or whether you're a little bit further down the road like myself. You don't have to quit. You don't have to stop. You don't have to end. Life is just more meaningful when you are identifying your loves and your likes, and then you're actually can make make a living or make a profit
Yep.
or build a business from that.
And making a living, making money is not a selfish thing. It can be selfish, but it's really not selfish, because if what you're doing is solving somebody else's problem, they're thrilled that you're alive, and they're thrilled that you got the skill to solve their problem, and they're thrilled to hand you money because they want to say, I value what you created so much. Here's some of what I value. That's all it is. You're
That's good.
trading value for value. So now you know exactly how to choose the business that's right for you. And I should say, you know how to choose the first business that's right for you. And as you continue to expand and grow, you will get to move from the light column to the love column, because the skills you're learning in the light column will transfer to the love column, and you're going to have the money to fund it, because you're now going to be rich, but not just rich. You're going to be wealthy and able to actually enjoy what you've built. So thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Rich to Wealthy, and we'll see you in the next one.